Welcome back to the Deep Dig of Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, with my other host over there.
What's up? It's D.
Yep, we're back again this week talking about the 49ers' devastating loss to Russell Wilson and the Let's Ride Denver Broncos. What were your immediate thoughts after that game?
Danger Russ did not look like Danger Russ. I mean, it's very disappointing. We lost to a Russell Wilson that he looks to be, dare I say it, on his last legs. Like, he doesn't look too good. I mean, the defense, our San Francisco 49er defense, looked amazing. And we only held them to 9 points. And then another 2 points came from safeties. That's a whole nother story. But this just like, it's so bitter, like the disappointment, because this was a team this was a game we should have won. This is a team we should have put away, and it just didn't happen. And so it's very concerning moving forward when we're going to actually play legitimate contenders. What are we going to look like? You know? And so it just makes you think, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just watching this game, I was thinking to myself, wow, Russ looks bad. He looks slow, out of shape, not the same guy. And he wasn't that much worse than Jimmy G, but that's what you get from this team, I guess. Jimmy is the guy moving forward, and I said multiple times in this podcast, I don't want to see another season, a full season of Jimmy G as our quarterback, but we're here. We know what we're going to get from the guy, and we're going to get performances like that. And I don't think it's all on him. Watching that game, I think Kyle made some bad decisions. The play calling was, we could get into the play calling a little later, but I was not happy with that. The defense is amazing. This is a generational defense, I think. Ufunga is a dog. This guy is going to for sure make Pro Bowl, I think, this year. And Fred Warner is obviously always going to be amazing. Nick Bosa looks dominant. Drake Jackson is getting going. So watching the game, yeah, it was a tough one to get through because so slow. I feel like it was just every offense on the field was just not working, and who is going to make the first mistake that lets the other defense win kind of thing. And Jimmy did make that mistake, but
multiple times.
I'm worried going forward in the season. I don't know where my panic meter's at, but it's pretty high because the first three games of the season, we just played probably three of the worst teams in the league, if not three of the worst teams on our schedule. With the Seahawks, okay, we know they're going to be bad. They only won the first game because that was their Super Bowl against the Broncos and Russell Wilson. But we beat them. We lose to the Broncos, who their head coach was a fucking joke, like all season. This is a guy getting memed hard. He had to hire another coach to help him this week. And we lost to that guy with Kyle Shanahan. And then in the first week, we lost to the Bears. And look at how the Bears played this week. Justin Fields can't throw.
They won the game. So he's doing something.
Everything that people said about Trey Lance could be said about Justin Fields, but that's just my opinion. I've seen enough from Justin. But three of the worst teams in the league, I'd say, and we 1-2 right off the bat. Where do we improve from here? I don't see a lot of improvement. Where do we go from here? Could get ugly, but I guess we'll get into more of that later. There was a lot of injuries in this game. How do you see that affecting us immediately and going forward?
I mean, it's tough. You know what I mean? Trent Williams, probably our best player, gone 6 to 8 weeks, high ankle sprain. Elijah Mitchell, who was our best running back, is out. Azeez Al-Shaair is going to be out for a foreseeable future. Jimmy Ward's already been out. I think he's going to miss 1 or 2 more games. George Kittle, who knows, because he's just a hit and miss guy. Is he going to stay healthy the rest of the season? Would you bet on that? I wouldn't. And then moving forward, like, okay, who's going to fill this role? The O-line wasn't looking great to begin with. And then they, trotted out more and more got beat, and you didn't see him on the field, since then. They were holding out Colton McKivitz, but it's it's very concerning because this is just a team that's known this is what happens for the 49ers. The 49ers lose one guy, five more are going to be right there with him. So even almost Deebo Samuel almost got injured this game. He left the game and came right back, and they were still running him. So I don't know what it is. Maybe there's something in the Santa Clara water, but yeah, injuries just seem to follow this team.
Yeah, that's been the story of this team. And championship teams, there is a big matter of luck. Like if you look at the Warriors, who won when they won their championship last, almost everyone was healthy throughout that run, and you kind of have to have that within the star, at least the star players of your team in a football team is they need to stay healthy. And sometimes things just like freak injuries happen, but it seems to happen more and more with this 49ers team. And when you have superstars on your team that are injury prone and you pay these guys, and those are the guys that you rely on week in, week out, there's going to be years where everything falls into place and you go to the MSU championship game. And there's going to be years where everyone goes down. And is your draft picks, your practice squad guys, are all those guys good enough to get you over the hump and keep you in relevancy? And I think what we've seen from the 49ers is if a couple guys go down, they don't have enough juice to keep winning. But they've kind of rolled the dice on this. Like they've paid these superstars or star players who are injury prone, like a Debo, Kittle, Jimmy Ward he's never been fully healthy his whole career. Even Bosa got dinged up. Eric Armstead is out. Kinlaw is an injury guy. You just go down the list. There's a lot of injury. I don't say Trent Williams is a guy that's injury prone, but here we are. He's hurt now. That's where we are at this point. So that just worries me. And this is going to be a lost season with another Kyle excuse of, well, if all my guys didn't get hurt, we would have did better.
But it's also okay, you hit it kind of nail on the head. You have to draft young players to make sure to make up for that deficit if you do have, something happen. And they just haven't drafted well as far as the earlier rounds. They just cut that. Who's the running back? Trey Sermon, who was a third round pick.
Wait, you mean the star of training camp?
Yeah,
Trey Sermon?
He was probably our best player. Dante Pettis, Reuben Foster, Solomon Thomas, all of these picks come back to bite you in the ass because they're not playing for you anymore. These guys do not play for this team anymore. And look at the draft capital that you gave up for them. All of that shit matters. Just like in this game, hey, surprise, a game happened and there was mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and it all added up to a loss. The same thing happened with their drafting previously. And so, yeah, I mean, it is concerning when you have these injuries to your top guys. I mean, it happens with every team, but it just seems to happen more with these 49ers. And I mean, moving forward, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and in this game, we obviously went in without Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward. Kittle
played.
He played, but he was obviously limited. And obviously we went in with our backup quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. So we did have some injuries going in, but they were dinged up on their side also. Like Jerry Jeudy played injured. Patrick Surtain was injured. He played. So those are two key guys on their team.
It was a slow plodding game. What were your thoughts on it? I know we're both super disappointed, but let's get into this game.
This was one of the most frustrating games I've ever had to watch. Because I was having such a good day, man. I won 4 out of 5 of my bets in the morning. I was winning big that day. So I already had some money down on the 49ers. So I quadrupled down. I put so much more money on the Niners to win. And watching that game, I was like, easy. The Broncos don't look good still. Hackett is a joke. We're not great right now on offense, but with the mind of Kyle Shanahan and the talent of our offense, surely we could beat this team easily, right? And man, how I was disappointed. It was tough to watch our quarterback step back out of the end zone and then throw a pick six. It was giving me major flashes of Rams playoff game where he's like spinning and throws it and interception pick six to win the game. Yeah, and that's just what we're gonna have with Jimmy. That's what I fully expect. I didn't want to watch another season of that, but here we are. And how long until it's Brock Purdy time? Because the fans on Twitter are already calling for it.
This is the quarterback play that you all deserve. You deserve this. You called for Jimmy G. You wanted Jimmy G. You got Jimmy G. This is the Jimmy G experience. We both knew this is what's going to happen. There was going to be ups with Jimmy, which we experienced last week, and there was downs with Jimmy, which we experienced this week. So y'all motherfuckers asked for this. Like, this is on you.
And what I don't like from the narrative of like the national media, I watched a lot of it today, where they're like, yeah, well, Jimmy G just has to learn from these mistakes and clean it up. And we're like, no shit, bro. We've been watching this for years and he's not going to learn. Like, he's not a rookie. This is the difference between him and Trey Lance. Trey Lance, maybe he would have made some of those plays. Maybe he would have threw some interceptions. But then you can look at him and say, he's a 22-year-old guy. He's going to learn. And he has the opportunity to get better. Jimmy is a veteran. This is who he is. He's not going to learn from these mistakes. This is just what he does. And for the national media to be like, oh, well, Jimmy took him to NFC Championship, so obviously he's a great quarterback. He can throw the ball. And then watch that game and be like, yeah, maybe he can just like do better. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, this is what Jimmy is. He makes mistakes. And we've watched it constantly. And that's why Kyle didn't want him back. But I don't know. I just think it's funny how the national media who doesn't watch every game is just like, they have a certain picture of Jimmy being a good quarterback. And then he has a bad game. And some people are just like, yeah, he just has to tighten it up.
And it's like, okay, the excuse is like, oh, well, he didn't have the playbook. He hasn't practiced with the team. Again, he's been on this team for years. He's had this playbook before. You know, he's played with these guys multiple times. So there's no excuses here. Like, it was just bad quarterback play. But also, it was just bad play calling on Kyle Shanahan's part. I just felt like there was no rhythm whatsoever to any of these play callings. Like, usually with Kyle's offense, it's you run a basic play and then you build off that play. And then there's like 4 or 5 variations that you can throw in there. And it feels distinct. Like, oh man, like Kyle's on a good one. And you've seen it with the run with Jeff Wilson Jr. Like, okay, we're cooking now. Now things are looking pretty good. But they just didn't build off the momentum. And it just felt like he was throwing out random plays. And it just felt very like, yeah, fuck it. Do you want to call this one? Like, you know, in the preseason when Cardinals had Kyler Murray calling plays, that's what it almost felt like. Like, Jimmy, do you want to call this? And it just felt very unconnected and very like,
do you think it was
not in rhythm?
Lazy play calling from Kyle's end, or more of he didn't have a great game plan going in and he could just got away from the run?
Well, what's weird to me is going in, I heard that he had interviewed and said, hey, like, I have a full package for Marlon Mack. Like, these are the things that we're going to run with him. Marlon Mack didn't see the fucking field, bro. Jordan Mason got 1 carry and he actually looked pretty good on that carry. I felt like they should have hammered the run a lot more than they actually did. And maybe it's because Kyle just doesn't feel comfortable with like guys that are new into his system. But
sorry to cut you off, but before we lose that fucking point, that's the thing with Kyle Shanahan, bro. I'm gonna slap you like Kyler got slapped. But here's the thing with Kyle is he doesn't trust guys that aren't his guys. It takes him forever. He can make the package for Marlon Mack. He can fucking draw plays up for Trey Lance on the plane home. But is he going to use that in game time? No, he's going to stick with Jimmy G and Deebo Samuel. Like, remember last year when he had all of these like run packages, these Trey Lance subbing in for Jimmy G, and then he just never did it.
Yeah.
Like, the guy, he is the Drake of NFL head coaches. He has trust issues. I'm telling you, he's never going to switch it up. He's never going to trust like something crazy, like giving a backup running back 10 plays in a row, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just poor play calling. So I want to give a good portion of this loss to Kyle Shanahan. But at the same time, as I talk through Jimmy G's like, okay, he fumbled. He missed Debo twice. One was in a wide open end, like just walk into the end zone touchdown, and he didn't even throw it his way. He didn't look his way. And the other one was also that wheel route where he would have walked into the end zone if he had let him a little bit. Didn't do it. He trots out the back of the end zone for the safety, which we end up losing by 1 point. Guess what? A safety's 2. On that play, he throws the pick 6, but it's wiped because he stepped out of the end zone. It's just all of these things, and it's like, okay, well, a good portion of this loss has to go on Jimmy G. He just looked terrible.
That's the thing with, so you have a championship level roster. You have a team that wants to compete for a playoff spot. You get a veteran quarterback, and you expect, hey, this veteran should know like not to make certain mistakes and just play clean football, and that should be enough to win us game. But that's not what we're getting from this veteran quarterback. Like, all we ask of him is just don't make mistakes that will lose us the game. That's it.
Yeah.
And he can't do that. And that's the reason I didn't want Jimmy G to still be here. I would have rather just bottomed out with Brock Purdy. At least Brock Purdy, I would have been like, this guy, I like this guy's attitude. Let's see what he can do. He's a rookie, whatever.
He's a real go-getter. He's a hard hat.
He's a gym rat.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, we're digging ourselves a hole here that it's going to be tough to climb out of by the end of the season. When you look at the end of the season schedule now, it's getting harder and harder with the Dolphins. Before the season, I looked at the game like, oh yeah, we should be able to beat the Dolphins with Tua. But now the schedule's looking a little tougher over there. I don't know about that. The Cardinals, they're going to pull it together. They always play well against us. We got to see them twice still. We got to see the Rams twice. We got to see the Seahawks again. I'm not really scared of them, but who knows with Jimmy G? You know, he could throw a couple pick sixes and we're losing that game. The Saints, I don't know how we're going to do against them. I feel good about the Panthers game, but can you even like look at this 49ers team anymore and say like, oh yeah, that's a win? Like, can you guarantee any win?
No, I mean, I'm so conflicted because the team is so talented, but it starting off this way does have me concerned moving forward for the rest of the season. These were 2 losses where you should have won. You almost guaranteed a win. You were like your defense was playing so lights out. All you needed to do was score a couple of extra points, and you would have had it. You would be 3-0 right now, feeling really good. Hey, we had some hiccups, we've had some ups and downs, but those are still dubs. Now it's like, okay, you're going to play the Rams twice. You're going to play the Cardinals twice. You're going to play the Washington Commanders on Christmas Eve. That's going to be a weird game. You're going to have Vegas. The Saints, the Vegas Raiders, who even knows what they're going to be doing at that point. They might just be like a write-off joke, or they might be, hey, we need to surge back and we need to win every single game moving forward at a certain point because we have playoff hopes. So it's just going to be a crapshoot. And we knew going into this, like, that we're going to have to start off on a good note because as you move through the schedule is going to get harder. But it just hasn't happened. So, like, yes, I'm concerned about the rest of the season. What about you?
It could get pretty bad. Like, yeah, we went through that season where how much games did we win with Kyle when Jimmy went down? Like 4 games, 5 games?
Yeah.
Some low, and then we had a high draft pick for Bosa. I don't think it could get that level of ugly since we already do have a win under our belt. I think the Panthers, it should be a lock that week. Hopefully it's a lock win right there. And then the Seahawks again, that's 3 wins right off the top of my head, not on the schedule in front of me. But I am worried that it could be like a 6-win season with this roster, this special defense, because we just don't have anything going for every game. This defense needs to be perfect now. And then on top of the defense being perfect, we need at least like 2 or 3 huge plays from Debo Samuel.
Yeah,
And
and
that's not
it's not
a great recipe.
and it's unfair to like put that on Debo, but now he is like what you have with Jimmy G and the even now with Trent Williams out, the offensive line looks terrible. Like, let's just go ahead and say that. Like the center looks bad. Colton McKivitz like is not Trent Williams.
McGlinchey looks
McGlinchey on
little.
the other side is just like
There's a little
he's like
guy.
me and you standing back there. Like, bro, it does not look good. Aaron Banks looked better than I thought. Hey, that's cool.
If anything is a standout, the only things that look good in that game were Buford, Banks, our defense, and Kyle Shanahan's hat.
Hey, I mean, Burford had he had some penalties. He looks pretty shaky at sometimes, but
He's a young
also,
guy.
yeah, like he's a rookie. I'm not really tripping about that.
Did you see
Uh,
Kyle Shanahan's hat?
yeah, but
That shit is fresh. That's a nice hat. I got to get that.
uh, but yeah, I mean, moving forward, like every team that you're supposed to beat, you're gonna have to beat, and then you're gonna have to pull some games out of your ass now. Like we're already to that point because you dropped these easy games, because you're at a deficit. Now you have to like, okay, we're going to have to scrounge up for some change to pay this bill at the end of the season. Are we going to have enough left to make a really good playoff push?
The thing they have going for them too is the NFC looks pretty weak around the middle of this year, I'd say. There's a lot of teams that are going to go 7 or 8 wins. And a lot of teams, they're going to be around that 9-10 win range that maybe you could sneak in the wild card with the 9 win season this year. But it's going to be tough either way because there's going to be have to like certain tiebreakers, certain teams you're going to have to beat. Like the Saints game is going to be huge for us. Potentially the Panthers. I don't really give the Panthers too much credit, but the Bucks game could be huge depending on like how they're shaking out because they just lost. Their offense is still struggling. They could lose a couple games here and then be fighting for a wild card spot. So
that Cardinals Mexico City game is going to be huge.
Yeah, not even getting into our inner division games. So every game will be crucial going forward. And I don't hit full 10 on the Patty Meter because we are 1-2. We're not 0-3. We're not the Raiders. Okay, we're not the Raiders.
Nobody's the Raiders right now. They're the
get that right off the bat
with no win. It's their only team with 3 losses. Yeah,
0-3. So at least we have that going for us. We are not the Raiders, and who knows? We go out there, pull some Shanahan magic with Jimmy G, and win the Rams game. We're back in business. We're in first place in our division.
Yeah. And how like weird is it? Like parallels, in the universe that at this point in the season we feel like it's a must-win game, and it just happens to be against the Rams. Like just like last year, where it was like, hey, you need to put your nuts on the table. You need to win this game to save your season. It almost feels like that type of game going into LA. Or is it in LA or is it at Levi's? Sure. Either way, it's going to be, a huge game. So, like, can Kyle Shanahan pull it out again?